Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Excuse me, this is the Bodega Cat Book Club Financial Edition. And today we're continuing our reading of The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. The subtitle is called A Second Look at the Federal Reserve, and this particular book is the fifth edition that we're using. So this book is inspired by fundamentals. I think it's important to know the world that we live in a sense. And money and currency and finances is a big part of our day-to-day life. So I thought it's important to study it, to know its history, to know the game, if you will. That way we know how to navigate through the matrix, so to speak, right? So anyways, that's where the inspiration comes from. And I want to thank you for being here. This is a very thick book. It reads like a textbook. In fact, it's a probably good any kind of financial workshop or classes. This would probably be a good book to study because it's got a lot of history. But anyways, I commend you for being here. We're almost to the end of the book, and it's taken us over a year to read this particular book. So I want to thank you for sticking with us and for being here and for wanting to learn. I think that's important. But before we begin, if you like our format, if you like our book clubs, please consider joining our other book clubs. We have on Mondays, we have our spiritual book clubs, and then Wednesdays, we have our health book club. So we put all the books that we've read in the past as well as the present one on YouTube, and we have it in a playlist so that you can download and listen to it when you're in traffic, when you're doing, household chores, when you're walking your dog, walking your baby, whatever it is that you do. You could do that. And then we have other things on our YouTube channel as well, not just book clubs. So please check that out and like and subscribe. And I don't know what else you guys do there. Comment, I guess, to help with the algorithm. At least that's what they say. I don't know how that works. But anyways, you guys know what to do. And then subscribe to our or sign up for our monthly free monthly newsletter as well. And if you have a book that you want to recommend for us to read, it could be a spiritual book, it could be a health book, it could be a financial book. I will leave a link in the description box below. And we appreciate your input very much, and we will consider it. We will consider reading it. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, and then if you want to support us further, we want to thank you so much. Uh, you can buy me a coffee, leave a donation, or check out our merch. We've got many different designs for your fur babies, for domestic cats and dogs, right? For your pets as well as for humans. So please check them out on our shop tab on our website. And then if you are in the Los Angeles area or visiting the LA area, come visit us in person. We love to meet you in person and get to know you. We have a healing center that we use technologies based on Nikola Tesla's research, scalar wave research for holistic healing for both animals, cats and dogs, and humans. So you can find out all that information on our website, as well as some of the other services that we have as well. So however you participate, however you support us, we appreciate it very, very, very much. Okay, so let's dig right into it. Today's reading is chapter 26, and this will be part two. And as you can see, this book is about 600 pages, and we're almost to the end. So kudos to you. Let's see where we stopped last time. Okay. Okay, I think I got it now. If you have a book, you can follow with us there. If not, you can follow with us here on camera. I'm just going to move the camera in a little bit so you could see better, especially for people who have a hard time reading or seeing things like me. Okay, all right, let's get into it. So again, this is chapter 26, part 2. Number 9, determine the number of all the Federal Reserve notes in circulation and then calculate the real dollar value of each one by dividing the value of the precious metals by the number of notes. Number 10, retire all Federal Reserve notes from circulation by offering to exchange them for dollars at the calculated ratio. There will be enough gold or silver to redeem every Federal Reserve note in circulation. And there's a footnote about that. Since the value of the FRN, Federal Reserve notes, would be firmly established in terms of real dollars, there would be no compelling reason to exchange them, and it is possible that people would continue to use them in daily commerce. Therefore, to retire the FRNs and make the transition as quickly as possible, it would be necessary to have the banks automatically exchange them for real dollars whenever they are deposited. In short order, they would become collector's items and historical curiosities. Number 11, convert all contracts based on Federal Reserve notes to dollars using the same exchange ratio. That includes the contracts called mortgages and government bonds. In that way, monetary values expressed within debt obligations will be converted on the same basis and at the same time as currency. Number 12, issue silver certificates. As the Treasury redeems Federal Reserve notes for dollars, recipients will have the option of taking coins or Treasury certificates which are 100% backed. These certificates will become the new paper currency. 13, abolish the Federal Reserve System. Incidentally, I believe that's what we're seeing it right now in real time in 2026. Uh, okay, it would be possible to allow the system to continue as a check clearinghouse so long as it did not function as a central bank. A check clearinghouse will be needed, and the banks that presently own the Fed would be allowed to continue performing that service. However, they must no longer receive tax subsidies to operate, and competition must be allowed. However, the Federal Reserve System, as presently chartered by Congress, must be abolished. Number 14, introduce free banking. Banks should be deregulated and at the same time cut loose from protection at taxpayers' expense. No more bailouts. The FDIC and other government insurance agencies should be phased out and their functions turned over to real insurance companies in the private sector. Banks should be required to keep 100% reserves for demand deposits because that is a contractual obligation. All forms of time deposit should be presented to the public exactly as CDs are today. In other words, the depositor should be fully informed that his money is invested and he will have to wait a specified time before he can have it back. Competition will ensure that those institutions that best serve their customers' needs will prosper. Those that do not will fall by the wayside without the need of an army of bank regulators. Number 15, reduce the size and scope of government. No solution to our economic problems is possible under socialism. This is the author's view that the government should be limited to the protection of life, liberty, and property, nothing more. That means the elimination of almost all of the socialist-oriented programs that now infest the federal bureaucracy. If we hope to retain or perhaps to regain our freedom, they simply have to go. To that end, the federal government should sell all assets not directly related to its primary function of protection. It should privately subcontract as many of its services as possible, and it should greatly reduce and simplify its taxes. And again, just a side note, I believe we're seeing that in real time in 2026. Number 16, restore national independence. A similar restraint must be applied at the international level. We must reverse all programs leading to disarmament and economic independence. The most significant step in that direction will be to get us out of the UN and the UN out of the US. But that will be just the beginning. There are hundreds of treaties and administrative agreements that must be rescinded. There may be a few that are constructive and mutually beneficial to us and other nations, but the great majority of them will have to go. That is not because we are isolationists. It's because it is simply because we want to avoid being engulfed in global tyranny. How interesting we're seeing that playing out in real time. I wonder if the current president uh, is taking this chapter and just letting it and using this chapter as a, I don't know what I want to say, as a blueprint, right? And I don't know if you guys can hear, but my cat is mewing at me. He's waiting for my lap. He's been waiting to sit on my lap for the longest time. But if you don't hear it, don't worry about it. I just wanted to mention that in case the mic picked up. Okay, continue. Some will say that paying off the national debt with Federal Reserve notes amounts to a repudiation of the debt. Not so. Accepting the old notes for payment of taxes is not repudiation. Exchanging them for their appropriate share of the nation's gold or silver is not repudiation. Converting them straight across to a sound money with little or no loss of purchasing power is not repudiation. The only thing that would be repudiated is the old monetary system, but that was designed to be repudiated. The monetary and political scientists who created and sustained the Federal Reserve System never intended to repay the national debt. It has been their ticket to profit and power. Inflation is repudiation on the installment plan. The present system is a political trick. An accounting gimmick. We are merely acknowledging what it is. We are simply refusing to pretend we don't understand what they are doing to us. We are refusing to play the game any longer. Measuring the size of the hangover. So those are the 16 steps, but what are their effects? It should come as no surprise that there is a price to pay for a return to monetary sobriety. A hangover cannot be avoided except by continuing the binge, which is the road to death. Let's take a look at what this binge has already cost us. We will measure that by calculating how much each Federal Reserve note will be worth when the new money appears. The following figures are presented for illustrative purposes only. The data are drawn from public sources and from the Federal Reserve itself, but there is no way to know how accurate they really are. In addition to the question of accuracy, there are some statistical items which are so obscure that not even the experts at the Fed are certain what they mean. When the time comes to apply this program, it will be necessary to assemble a task force of experts who can audit the books and assay the metals. Nevertheless, based on the best information available to the public, this is what we get. The total quantity of silver held by the government on September 30th, 1993 was 30,200,000 troy ounces. If we assume the new dollar will be defined as 371.25 grains of silver, which equals 0.77344 troy ounces, then that supply is valued at $39,046,338. And a footnote on that is, although the weight of the silver dollar is 412.5 grains, which is 0.8594 troy ounces, it is only 90% pure. Its silver content, however, is exactly 371.25 grains, which is 0.77344 troy ounces. Boy, that's a little tongue twister there. Okay, continue. The price of gold on that date was 384.95 Federal Reserve notes per ounce. Silver was 4.99 fiat dollars per ounce. The ratio between them, therefore, was 77 to 1. The supply of gold was 261,900,000 ounces. The value of the gold supply, therefore, at 77 times its weight in ounces, was 26, I think that's billion, 26 billion, 26 billion, 73,517,000. Holy moly. Okay, the value of silver and gold combined would be 26 billion, 112 million, $563,338. Boy, those are big numbers. The number of Federal Reserve notes this supply would have to redeem would be the combined total of the M1 money supply, currency and demand deposits, plus the additional number of notes needed to pay off the national debt. M1 on September 27, 1993 was, holy moly, what number is that? Million trillion, I guess. 1,103,700,000,000 FRNs. Oh my goodness. Okay, so a footnote for that is for those who feel that M2 or M3 would be a more logical figure, see is M1 subtractive or accumulative in the appendix concerning the author's notes and correspondence with the Federal Reserve. Wow, these numbers blows my mind. Okay, continue. The national debt stood at 4,395,700,000,000 FRNs. The total amount to be redeemed, therefore, would be 5,499,400,000,000 FRNs. I hope I got that right. But anyways, big number. That's a big number. Bottom line. Okay. The bottom line of this calculation is that the value of each Federal Reserve note would be equal to 0.0047 silver dollar. One silver dollar would be worth 213 Federal Reserve notes. All right. Bad, but not that bad. That will be a bitter pill to swallow, but it sounds worse than it really is. Remember that the new dollars will have more purchasing power than the old. Coins will play a larger role in everyday transactions. The nickel phone call and the 10-cent cigar will have returned. In the beginning, at least, the price of these items probably will be less than that. As explained in Chapter 7, any quantity of gold or silver will work as the foundation of a monetary system. If the quantity is low, as certainly will be the case at the time of transition, it merely means the value of each unit of measure will be high. In that case, coins will solve the problem. Pennies would be used for a cup of coffee. Well, we did away with the pennies, so there's no more, well, they're not minting any more pennies. Let's put it that way. But pennies is still in circulation. And this is 2026. So just a little side note there. 1 mil, 1/10 of a cent would pay for a phone bill and so on. New small denomination tokens would fill that need. In a relatively short period of time, however, the monetary supply of gold and silver would increase in response to free market demand. When supply increases, the relative value will decrease until a natural equilibrium is reached, as always has happened in the past. At that point, the tokens will no longer be needed and can be phased out. An inconvenience? Yes, vending machines will have to be retrofitted for the new coins, but that would be no more difficult than retrofitting them to take paper bills or plastic credit cards or debit cards, which is what will be required if we do not adopt these measures. It is a small price to pay for an orderly return to real money. Another possible solution, I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit here. Give me 1 second. The other way. Okay, that's better. All right. Another possible solution would be to define the new dollar to contain a smaller quantity of silver. The advantage would be that we could continue to use our present coinage. On the negative side, however, is the fact that it would create headaches after the transition because coinage then would be too cheap. Instead of changing over now, we would merely be postponing the task for later. Now is the time to do it and do it right. The original value of the silver dollar was determined after centuries of trial and error. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We know that it will work in the long run. In the past, the banks have enjoyed a bountiful cash flow from interest on money created out of nothing. That will change. They will have to make a clear distinction between demand deposits and time deposits. Customers will be informed that if they want the privilege of receiving their money back on demand, their deposit of coins or treasury certificates will be kept in the vault and not lent to others. Therefore, it will not earn interest for the bank. If the bank cannot make money on the deposit, then it must charge the depositor a fee for safeguarding his money and for checking services. If the customer wants to earn interest on his deposit, then he will be informed that it will be invested or lent out, in which case he cannot expect to get it back anytime he wants. He will knowingly put his money into a time deposit with the agreement that a specified amount of time must pass before the investment matures. A little bit like the CD, huh? Sounds a little bit like that certificate of deposit. Anyways, okay, continue. The effect of this practice on banking will be enormous. Banks will have to pay higher interest rates to attract investment capital. They will have to trim their overhead expenses and eliminate some of the plush. Profit margins will be tightened, efficiency will improve. They used to offer free services, which actually were paid out of interest earned on their customers' demand deposits. Now they will charge for those services, such as checking and safe storage of deposits. Customers probably will grumble at first at having to pay for those things, and there will be no more free toasters. Electronic transfer systems will probably become popular for their convenience, but they will be optional. Cash and check transactions will continue to play an important role. Government monitoring will be illegal. Although there will be fewer dollars in circulation than there were Federal Reserve notes, the value of each one will be correspondingly greater. Each person will end up with the same purchasing power he had before the conversation. For a short period, both the old and the new money will circulate together, and some people will have difficulty making the necessary calculations to determine their relative values. But that is a routine operation for people who live in Europe or for anyone who travels to a foreign country. There is no reason to think that Americans are too stupid to handle it. Some bad news and some good news, or some bad news and some good. We should not delude ourselves into thinking that this will be an easy transition. It will be a very difficult transition, and people will have to get used to a whole new way of thinking and doing. The freeze on the current money supply may trigger panic in the stock market and the business community. Stock prices could stumble, sorry, stock prices could tumble, causing paper fortunes to disappear back into the computers from which they came. Some businesses may fold for a lack of easy credit. Weak banks will be allowed to close rather than be bailed out with taxes. Unemployment may worsen for a while. Those who have been used to a free ride will now have to walk or push or pay their way. The masses on welfare will not give up their checks and food stamps quietly. The media will fan the flames of discontent. The cabal will be at every switch to derail the train. This will be the moment of our greatest danger, the moment when the people could tire of their hard journey in the desert and lose interest in the promised land. This is the time when they may long for a return to captivity and head back to the slave pits of Pharaoh. The important point, however, is that most of these problems would be temporary. They would be present only during the period of transition to a new money. As soon as free coinage is available at the mint, and as soon as people see how much demand there is for silver and gold coins, there will be a steady stream of miners and jewelers who will add new stores of precious metal to the nation's monetary stock. Foreigners undoubtedly will add to the inflow. Old silver and gold coins will also reappear in the marketplace. Very quickly, as the stores of precious metal respond to supply and demand, the quantity of money will increase and its per unit value will drop to its natural equilibrium. Won't that be inflation? Yes, it will, but it will be significantly different from inflation by fiat money on four counts. Number one, instead of being caused by politicians and bankers attempting to manipulate the economy to enhance their personal agendas, it will be caused by natural economic forces seeking an equilibrium of supply and demand. Number two, instead of being harmful to the nation, leading to the destruction of the economy, it will be part of a healing process leading to prosperity. Number three, it will be less severe than what we will experience if we do not make the transition. And number four, instead of being part of a continuum that is designed to go on forever, it will have a built in termination point, the point of natural equilibrium where the human effort to mine gold and silver equals the effort to create those things which gold and silver can buy. When that point is reached, the money supply will cease to expand. The inflation will stop once and for all. The hangover will be gone. From that point forward, prices will begin a gradual descent as advances in technology allow improved efficiency in production. With the arrival of lower prices, better job opportunities, and increasing prosperity, the voices of discontent will gradually fade. After the storm is over, America will have an honest money supply, a government with no national debt, and an economy without inflation. No matter what scenario unfolds in the future, there is white water ahead. We had better tighten our straps and prepare for the rapids. We owe it to ourselves and our families to take measures which will increase our chances of coming out at the other side. If the pessimistic scenario is played out, it will make little difference what we do because there will be no other side. But in the realistic scenario, there are certain precautions that will make a big difference in our economic well-being. To fully appreciate the wisdom of some of these measures, it is well for us to pause and consider the possibility that a transition to economic safety and sanity will not be orderly. Another variant of the realistic scenario is that our entire system could collapse, including the international structure being assembled at the UN. If that should happen, we won't have to worry about an orderly transition to a sound monetary system because it won't happen. Our primary concern will be basic survival. Economic chaos and civil disorder would not necessarily have to be the prelude to world government if a sufficient number of people were well enough informed to know in advance what the enemy's game plan is, and especially if they were in the right places within the system, they might be able to provide leadership at the critical moment. If there is blood in the streets and long periods of anarchy, it is theoretically possible that groups of enlightened individuals who have prepared in advance could move into the power vacuum and take charge. That may sound like another pessimistic scenario, but it is not. In the final analysis, it may be the most realistic one of all. But we should not hope for it. All we can do is prepare for it should it come to pass. And I just wanted to make a side note that for those who have stayed with us in this journey this far, reading this book the whole year plus, you guys are going to be the leaders that will be moving into the power vacuum and taking charge if something like this does take place. But again, in my opinion, it's important that we prepare ourselves on an individual level so that as we lift ourselves up, we have the ability to lift other people up. If we don't lift ourselves up, we don't have the ability to lift other people up. Just my little 2 cents. Let me know what you think, but kudos to you all. You guys are all leaders for reading this book. So give yourself a pat on the back. Okay, continue. How to prepare. What can we do to prepare financially? To avoid making this a lengthy dissertation, let's use the outline form. Elaboration should not be necessary. Number one, get out of debt. A mortgage, hmm, easier said than done. Uh, okay, a mortgage on one's home is a logical exception, provided the price is right. Borrowing for one's business is also an exception if based on a sound business plan. Speculative investments are not a good idea in these times unless they are made with money you can afford to lose. Number two, pick a sound bank. Maintain accounts at several institutions. Do not keep over $100,000 in any one bank. Remember that not all types of accounts are covered by FDIC. Some institutions now offer private insurance. Make sure you know to what extent you are at risk. And there's a footnote on that. That is not an easy assignment. It helps to have professional assistance from an independent source, which is able to analyze asset quality, loan ratios, equity ratios, loan loss reserves, and the like. One of the best sources of this kind of information is Veribank. For a nominal fee, this bank rating service will provide you with detailed reports on any bank or saving and loan in America. If you want their brochure, write them at P.O. Box 461 Wakefield, Massachusetts 01880. So just a side note, I don't know if this bank is still around. If any of you uh, in the audience can do a quick search, we would appreciate it very much to see if this is still viable or if it's still functioning or open. Because this book was written in many years ago, almost 50 years ago, maybe 60. So it's been a while. Anyways, okay. Uh, where are we? Okay, number three, diversify your investments. Among blue chip, over-the-counter growth, incomes, small mutual bonds, real estate, bullion coins, mining stock, tangibles, and even currencies. Industries that do well in hard times are gambling, alcohol, and escapist entertainment. And just a side note, I want to put the what is it called? Sports in that escapist entertainment category, like NFL, NBA, soccer. I'm not a sports person. So, anyways, you get the idea. Study the fields and companies in which you invest. Personal knowledge is indispensable. Number four, avoid the most recent best performers. Their great track records are historical. They have no bearing on future performance. To the contrary, they may now be overpriced and poised for a fall. See how an investment fared over the long run, at least 15 years, and particularly how it performed during periods of economic turndowns or downturns, sorry. Number five, when investing in coins, avoid those with high numismatic value unless you are prepared to become an expert. As with other types of investments, seek advice but not depend on it. The same is true for diamonds, art pieces, and other collectibles. Stay with what you know. Otherwise, you will be vulnerable in shark-infested waters where even the most experienced traders can lose money. Just a side note, this is my 2 cents. If you want to invest in anything, look for the bread and butter, because that's part of the fundamentals. Because with fundamentals, you have to have uh, it's something that you need. It's not something that you want. So a lot of these valuables and collectibles and art pieces, those are more on the want side rather than the need side. So let's say you're starting a business and you want to sell something, sell toothpaste and toothbrush because people need it every day. Deodorants. These are, you know, not glamorous stuff, but essentials. So you want to look at that when you look at things that invest in, things to, if you're starting a business, things like that. So just that's my little 2 cents. Let me know what your thoughts are. Very interesting. Number 6, maintain a stash of cash, including some old silver coins. The currency should be enough to provide your family with necessities for about 2 months. The coins are for more severe and prolonged conditions. There is no correct quantity. It is a matter of personal judgment and financial ability. So just a little personal story here. I lent some money to a friend many, many, many years ago, and he paid me back, but I wanted him to pay me back in silver. So we calculated the equivalent of silver at the time, and I don't remember what it was. I think it was like $15, $20. I don't remember. It's been so long. But we ended up paying me back with a roll of silver coins, and I still have it. And now silver is what, almost 100? I haven't looked at the silver price today. Uh, but the silver and gold is wealth. It's not investment to me. So right now there's a lot of hoopla about the silver squeeze and silver this and silver short and all that stuff. There's a lot of emotional roller coaster going on. For me, I'm holding it on. I don't have to sell it unless I had to sell it a couple years ago to pay off some bills. But that would probably be the only time, the only reason for me to sell it. There's no reason for me to sell silver or gold. So that's my personal story on those precious metals. And another side note, precious metals, silver and gold, has gotten me once or twice, gotten me some, you know, very difficult financial challenges. So I know some people say to me, well, I can't use silver and gold to buy a Big Mac or whatever. No, but you have to know how to use it wisely. And so anyways, that's a little squirrel there, but a little personal story for me. Okay, continue. Profiting from disaster. Oh, tell us your story if you have any. Leave it in the comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Very interesting. Interesting times we live in. All right. Profiting from disaster. All of this is all of this is aimed at surviving the storm and preparing ourselves to offer leadership in troubled times ahead. That is a rather negative view. There is a more positive outlook for those who are looking for good news, as Atley Stevenson said. It is the exciting prospect that we can turn this calamity to our advantage. We can actually profit from the coming collapse. That thought has spawned hundreds of books and newsletters offering advice on how to get rich while others are being destroyed. There is even one that gives advice on how to cash in on the environmental industry boom. The pitch is how to make a fortune on the downfall of America. There is no doubt that opportunities exist to profit from investment decisions based on a realistic appraisal of current trends. Most of those opportunities, however, depend on making market timing decisions. One must know precisely when to buy, when to sell, and at what price. To know all that, the investor must become expert on the nature of the industries involved and must monitor the daily shifts in market forces. He must attempt to complete his analysis and reach his conclusions in advance of the crowd. And of course, he must be right. Most investors are not prepared to do that, so they must depend on the services of professionals, usually the same experts who are encouraging them to invest in these kinds of enterprises. If the investment is profitable, the analyst receives an income. If the investment turns sour, the analyst still receives an income. So, just another side note, I got a lot of side notes today. Uh, you want to learn about many different investments, but keep in mind that whatever their experts say, they're always trying to, an underlying thing is they're trying to sell their services. So my rule of thumb is I will listen to a new investment, like a podcast or something. I'll listen to them at least for a year on a regular basis before I decide whether I want to do it or not. Unless, the universe or spirit or my intuition prompts me to do it, then I'll take action. But otherwise, I'll kind of lay low and listen to them. And at the end of the day, you want to let your intuition guide you, your higher soul to guide you in terms of what you need to do. Because there's a lot of noise out there, there's a lot of confusion, and your higher soul can cut through that confusion and cut through that noise and just to uh, allow you to take action on just what you need, whatever that moment is. So that's my little 2 cents. So let me know what you think. Okay, continue. That relationship is not unique to the profit from crash group. It is to be found at every level of the investment business, as well as within the legal and medical professions. The customer pays for the advice regardless of its quality. What is disturbing about this investment concept is that it actually may help to make matters worse. By focusing on finding clever ways to avoid the effects of inflation or of making a profit from it, we are doing nothing to stop it and thereby encouraging its continuation. Those who are gaining from inflation are not likely to offer serious resistance to it. As they watch their profits pile up, they may become its most ardent supporters, even though they know deep in their hearts that it will destroy them in the end. There is nothing wrong with trying to preserve one's capital in hard times, but the only real solution is to use one's capital to stop the present trends. In the long run, there is no way to profit from a destroyed America. There is no refuge from a collapse. There is no way to protect your assets, your home, your job, your family, your freedom. As Henry Hazlitt phrased it, quote, there is no safe hedge against inflation except to stop it, end quote. A proactive crusade. It is clear from the facts presented in this book that much more needs to be done than abolishing the Federal Reserve. Although that would be a great victory for economic and personal freedom, unfortunately, the creature has siblings, and they hunt and feed together. There is an income tax designed to eliminate the middle class, a school system more concerned with politically correct attitudes than with education, a controlled media that corrupts the news, a controlled political parties that create the illusion of participating in our political destiny, and the UN rapidly absorbing our military and economic sovereignty. We're not likely to slay one of these creatures without the others. We must eradicate the species. The species is collectivism. Collectivism is the concept that the group is more important than the individual, and that government is justified in any act so long as it is claimed to be for the greater good of the greater number. That is the foundation upon which the Federal Reserve is built, and it is the foundation for literally every other modern assault against our liberty. Collectivism is the enemy of freedom, and we must launch a proactive crusade against it. Not to do so is to surrender without a fight. The first step in this crusade is to spread the word. Americans have allowed their nation to be stolen from right under their noses because they did not understand what was happening. This is not just an American phenomenon. The same theft has occurred with minor variations in every advanced nation of the world. There is no hope for the future as long as that condition remains. Therefore, the starting point for any realistic plan for survival and beyond is an awakening of America and the world. And just a side note, we're seeing that play out in real time right now. For example, like our president's visit to Davos recently. Incredible speeches, by the way. If you have a chance to watch it, um, very, very nice. I enjoyed it. Okay, continue. Unfortunately, that will not be enough. Education is important, but it makes little difference what we know if we don't do anything with that knowledge. It has been said that knowledge is power, but that is one of the greatest myths of all time. Men with great knowledge are easily enslaved if they do nothing to defend their freedom. Knowledge by itself is not power, but it holds the potential for power if we use it as a guide for action. Truth will always be defeated by tyranny unless people are willing to step forward and put their lives into battle. The future belongs not to ideas, but to people who act on those ideas. So you hear the phrase, another side note, lots of side notes today. You hear the phrase, knowledge is power. It's actually applied knowledge. Because if you have the knowledge and you don't apply it, uh, it's not it's not going to work. It's not useful. It's not helpful. And there's a story that I said in one of my other, I don't remember which video, um, but a personal story about this. So I used to run around in the real estate seminars and workshops and all that kind of stuff. And I used to volunteer in those places. And there is this one, and a lot of these real estate seminars, they will upsell you. So the speaker will come in, speak for free, and then at the end he'll upsell you to a, you know, $3,000 or $5,000 weekend boot camp. That's what they call it, right? Uh, and things of that nature. So we see that a lot. They always upsell you, and then when you're in the weekend boot camp, they'll upsell you more, right? To like mentorship for, I don't know, $10,000 or whatever it was. So, anyways, we had this one guy that comes he's a member of the real estate club, I guess you could call it. And he was a teacher. I don't remember if he was a high school teacher, probably high school teacher. And I don't remember his name. We'll just call him John. Every time he comes, he will buy these workshops, these $3,000, $5,000 workshops to go to. And he'll go to these workshops and learn about real estate and different tactics and different strategies. And every time we see him, we say, "Hey, hi, John, how are you?" I say, "Oh, great, fine." And then we'll ask him, "Have you done a deal?" He'll say, "No, no, not yet." And then next time he comes, we'll buy another expensive workshop and we'll ask him the same thing. "Hi, John, how are you? Have you done a deal yet?" "No, no, not yet." And he'll do this for like years, and he'll come in with this big backpack, heavy backpack, whatever. And so he has all the knowledge of all the different real estate strategies, how to buy apartments, how to buy land, how to buy this, how to buy that, and all that stuff, and marketing and all that stuff. He has all this knowledge, but he never did a deal. He never applied it. If he would have applied it, even just that one deal, he might have become a millionaire, a multimillionaire. He might have, quit his job as a school teacher, but his school teacher salary has kept him in a safe, quote unquote, safe and secure, which isn't really safe and secure if you think about it. There's nothing safe and secure in this world. Um, but you never know. But interesting, eh? Uh, and the other thing, the other flip side to that is when you take action, you will fail. That's just a given. That is a given for any business. You want, and like my teacher said, you don't want to, but expect to fail at least 3 times before you succeed. And for me, I've done it many, many times. I'm still learning. So, anyways, I just wanted to give you a little personal story about that and give you some food for thought and see what you think, about this phrase, knowledge is power. It's half truth, not the whole truth. Okay. in my opinion. All right, continue. What will be required for victory? Defeating the global powers of collectivism is a big order, and we must be very clear on what will be required. Here are the realities. One, there is not much that can be done by one person alone. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. One, there is not much that can be done by one person alone. We need lots of help, and it will have to be international in scope. National efforts will continue to be important, but collectivism is entrenched globally. The whole world is now our theater of conflict. Two, we need corps of dedicated men and women. Oh, interesting word. I wonder if he meant corporation. Hmm. Uh, it's kind of weird for me to read it. Corpse sounds like a dead body, but I think he meant corporations probably. We need corps of dedicated men and women who are prepared to devote a major portion of their lives to this mission. Much more will be required than merely supporting a political party or subscribing to a periodical or writing letters to politicians. The time for armchair patriotism is over. Three, we need a comprehensive training program to expose the tactics used by agents of collectivism and to show how we can ethically counter them. Okay, let's see here. Four, we need the same support mechanisms that our foes have long enjoyed. Coordination, strategy, training, communications. Any plan without these elements is doomed to fail. Five, we need an organizational structure that cannot be subverted by our opponents. It must be designed not as a pyramid with all control at the top, but as a hologram with each of the smallest units able to create the entire movement from the bottom up. Number six, we need dependable funding to support the many services needed for organizational activities. Number seven, we need a clear statement of positive principle. It is not enough to know what we are against. We must also know what we are for. Number eight, we need a strategy not for petitioning leaders, but for becoming leaders within our respective countries. Number nine, we need the long view of history, realizing that our mission may not be completed in our lifetime. What we set in motion must be larger than ourselves, and it must have momentum into the future. And there's a footnote on that. All of these attributes have been incorporated into an organization called Freedom Force International. Additional information is located at the end of this chapter. Conclusions and summary. We have finally come to the end of this book. It was not a textbook on banking theory, it was a whodunit, and by now you know the answer. We have covered a vast expanse of history and have wandered far afield from our main topic. It was necessary. Without the larger view, the case against the Federal Reserve System would have been weak. It would have omitted the elements of war, revolution, depression, and fraud. Without that long journey, we would be limited to a sterile discussion of interest rates, discount policies, and reserve ratios. That is not where the body is hidden. In the foreword, it was stated that there were 7 reasons to abolish the Federal Reserve System. It is time to repeat them. It is incapable of accomplishing its stated objectives. It is a cartel operating against the public interest. It is the extreme instrument of usury. It generates most of our unfair, it generates most, it generates our most unfair tax. It encourages war. It destabilizes the economy. It is an instrument of totalitarianism. The purpose of this book has been to demonstrate the accuracy of these assertions. A plan for recovery was finally presented, which involves 16 steps, each based upon lessons which emerged from history. These lessons were mingled with a large amount of theory, which is traceable only to the mind of the author himself. which is to say, there is no guarantee the plan will work. But it is a plan. It is better to fail trying than to do nothing. Like men on a sinking ship, we must risk the water. We cannot stay where we are. There undoubtedly are technical flaws in these proposals, for the mechanism is merely a prototype. Someone surely will discover a gear that will not mesh or a lever that is disconnected. It will need the additional work of specialists in many diverse fields. Even then, the job will not be complete, for it must finally be handed over to those who are skilled in drafting legislation. Their task will be twofold. First, they must make it workable in the real world of politics. Secondly, they must prevent loopholes and vagaries which could eventually subvert the plan. But none of these considerations should deter us from beginning the process. We may not have answers to all the technical questions, but we do have an answer to the big question. We do know that the Federal Reserve System must be abolished. Let us therefore begin. The creature has grown large and powerful since its since its conception on Jekyll Island. It now roams every continent and compels the masses to serve it, feed it, obey it, worship it. If it is not slain, it will become our eternal Lord and Master. Can it be slain? Yes, it can. How will it be slain? By piercing it with a million lances of truth. Who will slay it? A million crusaders with determination and courage. The crusade has already begun. Wow, that's a beautiful ending. I love it. Okay, here is an invitation from the author. Since writing the first edition of this book, it has become increasingly obvious that much more needs to be done than abolishing the Fed. Although that would be a great victory in the battle for economic and personal freedom, unfortunately, the creature has siblings. There are many other fronts and issues that also need our attention. It is for that reason I have launched an aggressive action program based largely on the ideals advocated in this book. It is called Freedom Force International, and its mission is nothing less than to change the world. If you are motivated to do more than merely be informed, I urge you to visit the Freedom Force website and examine its goals, strategy, and principles. The fact that you have made it all the way to the end of this long book means you probably are the kind of person who will want to be part of this movement. If you really want to make a difference in the world and are willing to commit a portion of your life to that end. Oh, sorry about that. If you really want to make a difference in the world and are willing to commit a portion of your life to that end, I would be pleased to welcome you as a member of Freedom Force. For additional information, visit our website, www.freedom, uh, okay, www.freedom-force.org. If you're looking for reliable books, audio, and video programs relating to freedom issues, visit the website of the publisher of this book, www.realityzone.com. And if it's still working, if these website's still working, uh, I will leave that in the link. I will leave the link in the description box below for you guys. Okay, that's the end of chapters 26 and the end of the book. Now we're not quite done. There is an appendix, which is probably pretty short, but we will do it next time, and that will conclude the whole of the book next week. And then the week after that, we will start a new book. We have the introduction for it. So if you signed up for our YouTube channel and click on the notification and stuff, you will be able to find the new book that we're about to read. It's very exciting. I'm looking forward to the new book. It's about gold. Ah, gold. Okay. I hope you enjoyed that. And again, congratulations for finishing the book with us, for being on this journey. This is actually just the beginning. I've got lots and lots of financial books that we can be reading, but this is a good, I think, good foundation for it. So, leave your comments. Tell us where you're at, what you're doing in terms of the finances, in terms of comments about this book and your personal financial journey. We'd love to hear from you and learn from each other. That's the best thing about community, that we learn from each other. So, anyways, I hope you guys all have a great day, great, what is it called? Great evening, great afternoon, great wherever you guys are. And we'll see you next time in our next book club. Okay, bye bye now.